I've already covered the Squier Paranormal Troublemaker Telecaster Deluxe LE for limited edition and an On the Bench video. On the Bench videos talk about the history, pricing, specifications, and my general opinions about the guitar. The video link is in this video description. The one that I covered before was the Aztec Gold version. I love Aztec Gold and I thought I'd be in love with this guitar. I really didn't like the Aztec Gold version of this guitar as much as that I thought I would, and I sold the guitar to a friend of mine shortly after I had it. When I saw a used black version for a great price, I went ahead and purchased it. Originally, I do not particularly appreciate gold hardware on a guitar. I've said that probably a million times before, but it kind of works on this guitar. I'm sorry if I seem to be hypocritical. I decided to break the mold for me and not replace all of the gold off of the guitar with nickel hardware this time. There is so much on this guitar that makes it an amazing mod platform. Just starting with the looks of the guitar, ooze cool. I love the large deluxe headstock on a Telecaster, the binding on the black body and on the fretboard, as well as just adds to the overall coolness. The neck is very playable and the fretboard almost passes for rosewood. This guitar actually does have a bone nut. That's amazing to me out of Squier. Also, the bridge and stop tailpiece are heavy, solid, and well made. In a guitar, I would call all these things together good bones. If I was to upgrade anything, I'd replace the tuners, drop in an outrageously good set of classic pickups. I'd retain the functionality of the factory electronics, but upgrade the quality of the components. I've been digging through my parts lately to see what I have, and I found an unopened set of Grover Deluxe Gold tuners. I absolutely love Grover Deluxe tuners. Actually, I love Grover tuners in general. They just work. When you turn the tuning knobs, the action is just smooth. I never experienced slippage with a Grover tuner. Tuners on this guitar from the factory, that's something else altogether. I started a parts box for a future project where I would do upgrades on my new black Squier Troublemaker and went the gold Grover tuners. Recently, a friend of mine told me that he had a set of 4-wire gold Seymour Duncan Seth Lever humbucker pickups. I knew the time was now for me to move forward with the project. I got them for a great price, and then I waited for them to arrive. In the meantime, I started doing my upgrades with parts that I had on hand and video recording as I went along. Seth Lever was the inventor of the Gibson humbucker, or what folks mostly refer to as the patent applied for or PAF model pickups. Seymour Duncan's Seth Lever pickups are their reproduction pickups that are pretty much to the same specification as the original PAFs, as well as being made on factory equipment that Seymour Duncan actually purchased from the Gibson Kalamazoo factory where the original PAFs were made, and actually made on this equipment. I decided to upgrade the electronic components to CTS made pots. I would only have 2 push-pull pots on the volume controls, and this would provide me with coil splitting on both pickups like the factory wiring, but actually just higher quality components, as I had said. I pulled the neck off of the guitar and I started to replace the tuners. This is when I realized that the replacement set of tuners, although they look like vintage style tuners, were not. I was replacing tuners with roughly about an 8.77 millimeter size hole with tuners that are intended for a 10 millimeter hole. The other difference was that these tuners were not slotted like the ones that came with the guitar. I thought about it for a while, and I decided to proceed anyways. This is when I discovered that I could not find the correct drill bit to remount the holes on the headstock. I grabbed instead a hand reamer and opened up the holes to the correct size. It took me about an hour and some skin on my hands to do the entire headstock. But the new tuners then fit perfectly, work well, and they look great. Did I say before that they were Grover Deluxe tuners? Next, I removed the original pickups and electronics. I had a wiring harness template made out of the same stuff that they make clipboards out of that was almost exactly the same pattern and size of the layout of the control pots on the guitar, so it was good with assembling the harness outside the guitar. The original holes in the guitar for the metric size pots that came with the guitar were too small to fit the new imperial size CTS pots, so I grabbed again my hand reamer and opened up the 4 holes a little bit at a time while testing the fit. This did not take an hour like the tuning head holes. This actually only took about a few turns per hole, so be really careful not to open them up too much. Once the new control slipped in, I stopped. The 3-position toggle switch in this guitar was not the average switch that you find in a Squier, so since it already had a really nice wiring cable in place, that I could reuse, I left the assembly intact. And then also after looking at the output check, I decided to do the same with it. Found a great usable wiring diagram on the Seymour Duncan website and started building out my new harness. I was really excited for the pickups to show up so I could finish the upgrades and video recording. You would know it the day I show in my tracking that they're going to show up is also the day that the USPS is delivering voter guides to every house. I had originally thought I'd grab the pickups in the afternoon and head out to the shop to wrap things up. My mail did not get delivered until 7 p.m. I have to say that I really appreciate the mail delivery people and never want to do their jobs. They really put it in the hours, and they do it in, to be honest with you, some really crappy weather. I opened up the box and I checked my pickups, and to my general unhappiness, they were 2 conductor pickups and not 4. I would not be able to do coil splitting with these 2-wire pickups. I just gave up for the day and I watched TV instead of going back out to the shop. All my work on the harness so far that I had built was basically for nothing. I could do one of 3 things. I could modify the pickups to a 4-wire configuration. I could keep them as is and get another set of pickups with the correct wiring, but I'm not made of money. Or I could build a simple wiring harness that has 2 volume and 2 tone controls, but without any whiz-bang coil split, and I figured that I'd sleep on it and decide in the morning. I woke up and I decided to set the new harness that I had already built aside for some future unnamed project. And then I grabbed the components to build out a 4 CTS 500K pot harness with 2.022 UF capacitors. It took me only about 30 minutes to put it together and ready to install into the controlled cavity of the guitar. Whenever I modify a guitar and have challenges or a lot of challenges throughout the process, and somehow in spite of that or in spite of me, it somehow manages to come together in the end, I think that I'm especially happy with the guitar. There's nothing wrong with a guitar that has effing awesome pickups, great tuners, and classic high quality electronics that also ends up looking cool and sounding just as cool when plugged into an amplifier.